Welcome to Forging Plowshares, a community dedicated to cultivating the peaceful kingdom of God. We hope this part of our ongoing conversation stimulates your mind and challenges your heart about what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Please stay tuned at the end of the podcast for a short message about our ministry.
This is Paul Axton, Director of Forging Plowshares and Plowshares Bible Institute. And we have entered into a partnership with the Macedonia Project, which is a group in Japan that are recruiting missionaries and interns to Japan, which is very much in need of help in the churches as the churches decline. And so in this discussion with Tim Turner, who is the director of the Macedonia Project, we discussed then this partnership that at Plowshares Bible Institute, we have a course taking people through the introduction to the internship program and into Japan. And so if you're interested in an internship or being a missionary in Japan, or just looking into this possibility, we encourage you then to go to the Macedonia website. I'll provide the link online, and you can discuss with Tim then the possibilities of becoming a missionary, an intern, a helper in Japan. We do have an upcoming course with Jonathan Toddy on Colossians and Christology. This course will begin in the first week of June, the first Tuesday, and will run through the last Tuesday of July. Registration is now open for this course, and we encourage you to sign up. There are still seats that are open. The cost is $150. It's an 8-week course. We're planning at the moment to meet on Tuesday nights, but encourage you then to sign up for this course. And Jonathan is going to use a book, The Christ, the Heart of Creation by Rowan Williams. I think this will be a key course, a very exciting course in Christology and the practical application of Christology. Forging Plowshares is a nonprofit ministry, and we greatly appreciate your donations, which allow us to continue both Plowshares Bible Institute, our online seminary program, and the Forging Plowshares website with its blogs and podcasts. Donations can be made on the Outreach International website, oionline.org, through PayPal or Simple Give. Our project number is FP3901, so just select our project number when donating. And so I hope you enjoy this conversation between Tim and I discussing the work in Japan and for the need for workers to come and help in Japan. Hey, I'm here with Tim Turner, a veteran missionary to Japan. Tim, how long have you been in Japan now?
As an adult, we've been in Japan 36 years this year.
36
But
years.
I grew up in Japan, so we're here. I've been a little bit longer, but as an adult and as a missionary for 36 years.
Tim, I will say this since we have a huge group of people listening. Tim you have been always one of the nicest and gentlest and most easygoing people I think I've ever known. And you married Lisa is the same way. You guys are so easygoing. And then you had a bunch of kids.
Oh, yeah.
And then they all have this very lovely temperament. And not being peculiarly lovely myself, I've always thought, now, how did that happen?
But sometimes I think I'm too nice or too easygoing, and I should be more strict, like when we talk today about some of the Macedonia Project, but a little bit more stricter or, require more things, but I'm sometimes a little too nice with people and let them get by when they shouldn't. But anyway,
nobody has ever said to me, you're just too nice. But one of your sons is then actually kind of doing all of your dreams at once, that he is teaching sports as a missionary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's up in the mountains it's about a 4-hour car ride from Tokyo, but and he's working at a lodge that takes in guests, but then they take them on outdoor tours. So in the wintertime, he teaches snowboarding. He's done a lot of snowshoeing tours, and in the summertime, they do mountain biking and hiking and yeah, different things. They sometimes have school groups come up and they take them camping and do programs with them, do some ropes courses and different things. So yeah, he's enjoying his time up there in the mountains. It's a very beautiful place. Yeah, we've been up there several times, but it's a very beautiful place.
And Sarah is the principal of the Christian school in.
Okinawa. It's like about a 40-minute drive north of Naha, but she's the elementary part of the principal. Not she's not principal of the whole school, but just the elementary section.
I think I met you when you were 17 years old,
Okay.
right? In
Yeah,
high
I was
school.
in high school in Japan, in Tokyo.
Yeah, yeah. You went to CAJ.
I did. Went 4 years through high school, ninth grade to 12th grade at CAGA.
Tim and I are going to talk about, we're promoting the project that Tim is the director of the Macedonian project. I don't know. Do you have an official title?
No, I don't guess I do. But I think I got the head job because I'm the only one in the group that speaks English.
Okay. But it's a wonderful project, and we're going to talk about this and describe it. But I wanted Tim a little bit because he comes from his parents were missionaries in Japan, and he has long experience in Japan. He's fluent in Japanese and has been working in Machida for how many years now? Is that the
Yeah, the whole 36 years, much of the Church of Christ.
So describe a little bit, Tim, how you ended up in Machida and where you're at, a little bit of the history there.
All right, yeah. Yeah, so my parents, well, they were first missionaries in the Philippines, and that's where I was born. My sister and I were born in the Philippines. And then the story is that I had I was allergic to the tropical heat in the Philippines, and the doctor says either keep him in an air conditioned room or move to a cooler climate. And my father always wanted to go to Japan. He was stationed in Japan during the Korean conflict and wanted to go back. So he quickly said, let's go to Japan. So when I was 1 year old, we all moved from the Philippines to Japan. And so grew up in Japan since I was one. And we lived all over. We lived in Osaka for first several years and then started moving down south, went to Akashi to substitute for a missionary there, and then moved to Hiroshima to do some church planting. And we were there for 4 years. And then my parents returned to the States wondering what to do next. And they wanted to be near, I think, Tokyo that we could go to high school. At the Christian school here. The Betrays that started the Shinshu Bible Camp invited my parents to come and help them start a new camp. So my parents moved to Tokyo. They took turns substituting for different missionaries and then starting to work in Kotesashi. I graduated from high school. I went to Atlanta Christian College in Atlanta, Georgia. And I didn't want to be a missionary per se at first. When I graduated from high school, I enjoyed sports and wanted
to be a baseball player. Huh?
Be a baseball player. That was my first dream, but I knew I couldn't do that. So I thought maybe teaching or coaching or something. But I promised my dad I'd go to 1 year to Bible college and I'd get a good foundation and then maybe transfer to a school that had a big baseball team and had some coaching. I wanted to do some coaching. But anyway, that first year in Bible college, God grabbed my heart and since I already grew up there and spoke the language and knew the need there, God went ahead and grabbed my heart and said, "You're going back to Japan." So yeah. I stayed at Atlanta Christian College and got married, found my wife there and got married. And she had no inkling of ever going to the mission field. But before we got married, she came to Japan for a summer to visit my parents. And anyway, she saw the need here. And so she was willing to come with me, and so we got married and came back in 1989. But in the meantime, my parents also came back after starting Kotosashi, and they were wondering again what to do for their last term in Japan. And the Pratts, Paul and Kathleen Pratt, invited them to come to Machida. The missionaries had returned back, and there was no one there full time. So my parents in 88 or 80, 87, I guess, went back to Machida to help with the church here in Machida. And so when we were thinking about come back to Japan, we were wondering what to do. And my parents said that they wouldn't be there too much longer and to come to Machida and to work with them for a few years, and then they'll retire, and then we could stay on. So we came to Machida and studied Japanese some and worked with my parents, and then they retired, and then we've stayed on and been here ever since.
I was a little surprised when Faith and I were there. I had been out there before, but this past year we went out. I was surprised how far it is outside of Tokyo.
Distance-wise, it's only like 30 miles from the center of Tokyo, but yeah, I guess taking the train, 35 minutes to Machida, and then the 15, 20-minute bus ride.
But anyway, describe, Tim, how how this thing came about.
Yeah, so we're part of the independent Christian Church of Christ group. And anyway, in Japan, well, I guess the Christian Church has been coming to Japan as missionaries since the late 1800s, early 1900s. Missionaries have come to Japan. And then after the war, after World War II ended, a lot of missionaries came to Japan, including Faith's, your wife's parents and my parents and Pratt's. And anyway, many people came. And a lot of churches were started in those first few years after the war. And I think probably like 20, 30 years ago, we had probably 80 churches in all of Japan, from Hokkaido, the northern island, down to Okinawa, the southern island, and 80 churches. And after the war, it was growing, and a lot of Japanese young people became ministers and went to Bible seminary, and things were going well. But I don't know, since maybe 30 years ago, it's just a little by little gone, kind of declined a little bit. The ministers who became ministers after the war in the 1950s were getting older, and some were retiring, some were dying, and even the congregations themselves were getting older. I don't know, but so 20, 30 years ago, maybe 80 churches, and then about 10 years ago, we dropped down to about 60, and now we're probably about 50, 55 churches in Japan, and even just one closed down this past December here in Tokyo. The minister had passed away the year before that, and the few women who were meeting just decided they would go to other churches, and so anyway, that closed down. So anyway, those 80 dropped down to in the 60s, and now it's about 55. And a group of ministers got together and looked at the different churches, and they said in 10 years from now, if nothing different is done, if no new people come, if nothing changes drastically, we'll probably be around 40 churches in 10 years. Just the getting older of the ministers, small churches. Even our Bible seminary doesn't have very many young people wanting to become ministers. So we thought we need to do something different than just watch it decline more. So two things. I'm part of a Yotsuya mission, which is kind of a bigger group of churches here in Tokyo. But we decided to do two things. One was try to support the Osaka Bible Seminary more, and both financially, and try to help young people go there. So that's one thing. And another thing, they said, let's try to be more active in recruiting missionaries. And even missionaries. After the war, a lot of missionaries came. We probably had 30, 40 families, back in their 70s, 80s, 90s in Japan. But little by little, they were retiring and passing on. I think now we have probably 7 or 8 families of missionaries in Japan, and probably 4 or 5 of those families are 70 or more. So there's not a lot of young missionaries coming. And I'm 60, but I'm younger of most of the missionaries. So anyway, just those different things, churches getting older, declining, ministers retiring, dying, missionaries dying, leaving. We said, well, let's try to recruit more missionaries. So we started this kind of Macedonian project before COVID hit, and let's try to write to the Bible colleges. Let's try to be more proactive in recruiting. But then COVID hit, so we stopped. No, couldn't do anything for a few years. But then after COVID calmed down a little bit, we began again to send out letters to Bible colleges. And we made a pamphlet, made a web page, and just trying to be marked. When we said, well, let's not just come as a missionary full time, because that's kind of difficult to take that step. We said, let's come and for a short term, a week up to 3 months, and just to see what's going on here in Japan, and to visit other churches in the Tokyo area, even visit other churches, missionaries who are other places in Japan, and just to see firsthand, what is going on and what the situation is, and then hopefully that will spark an interest, and they can go back and finish school or begin to raise support and come back as a full-time missionary. And we were talking earlier. One of the key things about this is that you, Paul, led 2 years of short-term missions to Japan, and out of those two groups of people, we had seven students come back as missionaries. So that's encouraging. That even a week of just being here, that they were sparked an interest in them.
Yeah, it was kind of so we've seen that if you bring people over, you don't have to try very hard. Just show them what's there,
Yeah.
and show them the need. That several have then seen that and planned their lives accordingly. The only thing I did was get on the airplane with them, and you received us. And I think you're sort of following the same, that they come and stay with you, but then they also are going and visiting other missionaries, right?
Right. Any of the other churches with Japanese ministers, especially here in the Tokyo area, we can send them off just for the weekend, for Saturday, Sunday, and then they can come back. And so there's several churches in the Tokyo area with Japanese ministers that is willing to, have the young people come, and sometimes let them do a testimony or let them help with the kids program or things like that. So, and then there's a few other missionaries in the southern part of Japan. The Dave and Ruth Hinson in Wakayama are up to taking on, the young people for a week or two. Faith's brother Walter is also up to accepting the young people to come for a week or so. And Keith Summers in Okayama is willing to work with that. So yeah, there are a few other missionaries who live farther away from Tokyo that are willing to.
The interesting thing to me, in other words, the Japanese ministers are actually behind this.
Yes.
This is their idea.
Right. Yeah.
And it might sound like, oh, this is them, Western. Well, so you said that there are 50 churches now?
Yeah, I think, 54, 5. Yeah, I don't know the exact count, but yeah, around.
And
50.
how many ministers are there in those 50 churches?
I mean, probably majority, but yeah, probably 10 churches or maybe a few more may not have any full-time minister. Yeah, I know Faith's brother Walter, he goes to 3 churches on a Sunday morning, I think, to one church where he's at, and then 2 other smaller churches that he goes to and preaches at. So there are probably 10 to 15 churches out of that 50 that don't have full-time ministers.
And I know one group, they just listen to old recordings of the preacher, right?
Right, yeah. The preacher died, and he left a lot of tape, cassette tapes. And they listen to that every week. And I just talked to a church in Hokkaido just the other day, and they have several former missionaries who are there who have moved on different places, but they take turns on Zoom. So out of 4 weeks, like 4 different people will Zoom a message in for the service on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we very much enjoyed our trip last year, but of course, part of the trip was we went to the church that we had worked with for 20 years, I guess, and they were, I had been gone 20 years too, and It's the same situation, just a handful of ladies left, and they're all in their 80s, and not well. And so it becomes too much for elderly
Yeah,
people. And so,
yeah.
yeah, they've now closed that church, or at least they're on a hiatus.
Mm.
I think the ministers in the Church of Christ that they're still thinking. So the interesting thing is that with the Yotsuya mission, what part of this then is Yotsuya mission covering the expenses of somebody that would come over?
Yeah, it's still kind of case by case, but yeah, the Yotze Mission's willing to put out some money to help people come, especially the accommodations for the time being, place to stay. We've done a weekly mansion, a weekly apartment one time for a young guy that came, but yeah, we're willing to at least help with accommodations while the short termers are here. And most of the time, it's they're probably based here in Machida with us, but at the church here. But there are times when we would maybe rent an apartment or something for these short termers. So we just ask that they buy their own plane ticket, and then just have enough money for their food for short distances around Tokyo. If we send the young person far away, like to Wakayama or Kagoshima, the Yotze mission would cover that cost of sending them farther away. But as far as they're traveling here in Tokyo, or if they go sightseeing or visit another local church, then we would ask them to pay their own way and then pay their own food. But of course, since they live, if they're living here in Machida, we have missionary groups that we eat together, or we invite them to our house to eat. So it's not like they have to fix every single meal by themselves. But
Yeah, yeah. So it's a program that the target group is people in college or university. Is that your target group?
I guess, yeah, that's where we've been reaching out to. But we are open to young couples, or yeah, even someone in their older who are willing to come Japan. Matter of fact, we a guy came 2 years ago who's 35, and he's recently got married, and he wants to come back next year as full time. So he's not a young college student, but he's wanting to come back. And we're in touch with a young family that we've zoomed a several few times. They're interested in coming to Japan as missionaries. So yeah, not only college, but that's how I mean, that when I send out letters, I can just send letters to Bible colleges and like that. But we're open to any age.
And this fulfills then, for those doing it for internship programs, this fulfills their requirements that in their internship program.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Those who are like intercultural, study intercultural studies or ministry and need to fulfill a internship, we do that. And I can fill out forms, or write reports about their trips to fulfill their requirements for that. So yeah, we've had several come as official college, internship programs here.
And then when they get there, they're going to there. I mean, you kind of see what people do and what the need is, and various alternative approaches, I guess, just by meeting different people.
Yeah, yeah. And we try to get involved in the things we have going on here at Machida, but yeah, send them to another church that has a different kind of program or a different schedule. And the guy that's here now just wanted to meet some young people, so he walked over to the university nearby and met with some Christian young people there on campus, and he's been going out with them a little bit and connecting with them. So yeah, just different ways of outreach here in Japan and seeing what's going on. Yeah, they can't, it's hard to participate fully when you don't speak the language, but yet they can still see what's going on and meet people and connect in different ways.
Describe then the training program that they go through. Actually, that I'm guiding them through it, but you're the one that put it together. Describe then to them that the initiation part of it.
Yeah. So yeah, we asked them to fill out a form, a little bit of their background and why Japan, and a little form. And then if they're really wanting to come to Japan, we asked them to go through a video training course that we made up. And this training course is, I think it's an
8 weeks, yeah.
8 week course. And just to kind of give an introduction of Japan, the history of the missions here, some of the culture, customs, the way the Japanese think. And then we've even introduced some of the missionaries who have lived in Japan a long time and introduced their work. And so just to help them, yeah, just before they come to get a little intro to Japan, even some of the language. I guess there's one section on language and learning some few phrases, important phrases. So yeah, just kind of an introduction to Japan.
So they go
And
through their religion, they go through the problems, cultural problems.
yeah.
As I guide them through that, that's kind of what I bring out. People need to hear about the love of Jesus. I think that
Mhm.
in Japan, people are hurting, they're suffering.
Yeah.
I think that there is kind of a illegitimate reason, but I think the understanding, well, no, you're going over because people need, I think Japan's a high pressure sort of place that people really are in need of the gospel just in their lives, daily
Yeah.
lives.
On the outside, Japan looks like a very peaceful, comfortable, wealthy place. Like not a lot of problems. It's very safe here, to walk around at night. And it's on the outside, things seem to be good. But yeah, if you look further deeper, there's a lot of depression, a lot of mental illness, loneliness here in Japan. Yeah, so there is a great need for the gospel, for the love of God here that often doesn't seem, if you just look quickly, it doesn't seem like there is, but there's a lot of struggle, a lot of depression. The suicide rate in Japan is one of the highest in developed countries. And yeah, even though, missionaries have been coming for 175 years, there's still less than 1% of the Japanese are Christians of any kind. So there's still a great need for workers, for missionaries, for people to come and share the gospel. Yeah.
And some of the, most outstanding Christians, I'd say that there's so few, but then it seems like many then take their faith so seriously.
Yeah. I know in the past, these days it's not, you don't hear so much, but in the past, a lot of parents would disown their children, their adult children if they became Christians, and many still, took that step, but you don't hear much of that anymore. I think it's more open these days, but yeah, they take it seriously. Many of them do, yeah.
I think that going there, you see the need, and then describe a little bit the various activities that children's ministry, what sorts of things then will they be involved in?
Yeah, some of the churches have, kids programs, Sunday school type thing, or maybe an after church, not maybe weekly, but a monthly, like a children's Bible school after in the afternoon on Sundays that they can be involved in. If they come in the summertime, some churches have the vacation Bible schools, or we haven't started back our camp ministry, but after COVID, but here in Tokyo, we have a campground up in the mountains of Nagano that we've done a lot of children's ministry up there. But so hopefully soon we can start that back up. But yeah, different kind of kids ministry. A lot of the churches, because they're older and they don't have a children's ministry. So it'd be good if someone could come, full time and just help the church as start up a kids ministry or work with young people. But anyway, children's ministry, camp ministry. Like I said, we have a Shinshu Bible camp up in the mountains, and hopefully we can get things started there again. Youth ministry, yeah, we can with junior high, middle school kids or high school kids. A lot of churches, a lot of missionaries do teach English as a tool to reach out to people and just helping with English classes. Music ministry, yeah, a lot of churches are struggling with music and just to help with music. I know in the past there's been groups of students come for travel around Japan singing in a group, and although we couldn't lead that per se, but we have a group wanted to come and travel around. And then just I put down there maintenance and cleaning. A lot of churches just need someone to come in and help and pull weeds or clean or paint or something like that. And there's always that kind of, help that needs to be done. But if they come, short term, it's difficult to really get involved, with a lot of different things. But just we want them to see what is going on and what the need is, and see that some of these churches are older and don't have the personnel to start a children's ministry, so they could see, oh, there is a need there. We can come back and start a children's ministry, start a youth ministry, or start an English classes or something like that. So just to see the need that we're struggling and we need help.
And describe then the various alternatives that they have in terms of their trip.
Yeah. So we're kind of open and flexible to different timelines and schedules. It'd be best to come at least a week or 10 days, and maybe 2 weekends, and to visit 2 churches, and just to see shorthand. But then also we try to, so far as we've done 2 to 3 months of internship is our thing we've done the most, because in Japan you can come to Japan as a tourist without a visa for 90 days. So we try to come within 90 days, and you don't need to go through all the paperwork of getting a visa. You can just come as a tourist and then just come and observe and help in different ways. So that's our most popular, or the ones that we've dealt with.
That's what, yeah, the two that have come over so far have done the 90-day program.
Right, yeah, 2.5 months, yeah.
So you're suggesting if they come 1 to 2 weeks, they pay for their flight and then $500 in addition to
Just
that.
for their own food and local travel. Yeah, and we'd provide the accommodations for that time.
And then for the 3 months, 2 to 3 months, you're suggesting they raise $2,000.
Yes, for their food and living and traveling, and again, we would try to provide the accommodations for that. And so we don't, up to this point, we don't take any of that money, but we just ask them to raise that money and then exchange it here and then use it for their living in Japan.
And then you have the 1 to 3 years, and this sounds more serious.
Yes, you need to get a visa, a religious visa, and that takes a little bit of time. It takes several months to apply for that. We have to apply for that here in Japan and get a certificate of eligibility form from the government, and then we send it to the person, American. They have to go to the Japanese consulate in America and exchange the certificate for a visa. So it takes several months of paperwork and waiting. So it does take a little while, but then they can come up to 3 years on that one visa to come. We haven't had anybody yet to do 1 to 3 years per se yet. But
what I'm reading here is that if they will commit to that, then the Yotsuya Mission will help them with the fees for language school.
Yeah, we were willing to help with fees for language and to get them in an apartment or more stable, more long-term housing, and then help them to find a place where they can serve, maybe especially one church or maybe 1 or 2 churches they're nearby each other to serve, and not travel, a different church every weekend, but be in a more stable place where they can serve every weekend.
And then the long-term project is 5-year commitment.
Yeah, 5 years or more. Yeah, if they want to come, for a career, that's great. And yeah, but 5 years or
And
more.
Yotsuya will help them with the language school,
Yes,
and housing.
Yeah, initial costs and housing. Yes, and help them place them in a place where they can serve a long time. I think one of our goals is not, a lot of missions have the goal as like church planting, to start a new church, and that's a good way. I mean, I think that's probably the best way to grow churches where there aren't churches. But our goal is to help the existing churches, to come alongside the existing churches and help them to maybe start some new programs in the church, some new outreach programs to help the existing churches. And so we'll place the person in a church or two churches that they can serve, and then a lot of times it may be up to the young person to initiate some kind of program or outreach, but just to be there at the church to help and to serve, and possibly in the future they would be the ones who would lead the church, but for the time being in the early stages would be just to be a helper there at the churches.
And describe this name, Macedonian Project.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we were wondering what to do with the name, and we looked. I mean, we recalled the story of Paul, and he had a vision at night from the man in Macedonia saying, "Please come over and to help us." And so that was kind of our goal, is we want people to come and to help the church in Japan. So we decided to name it the Macedonian Project Japan. I'm sure there are other programs or organizations in the world that have the Macedonian Project name, but
Oh no, I think this is the only one, Tim. No, I think it's a very appropriate name because there is the need for workers to come to Japan. And you look at the situation in the United States, and there is, I mean, nobody ever wants to say this, but I think we can say there's an excess of people going into ministry. You know, nobody ever wants you to talk that way.
Right.
But of course, somebody looking for a church in the States, they're turning away, you know, many people. And so people want to work, people want to do the work of the kingdom. And I think that this is the call that, well, if you want to make a difference, make a meaningful, significant contribution, I hope people recognize that it's not the traditional sort of mission agency.
Right, yeah.
Run that down for us.
Yeah, we don't have a organization in the U.S. Headquarters that would send, but it'd be more, and we still haven't figured out how they would be supported or tax exempt status in the States. But yeah, we're just churches in Japan wanting people to come help us, and then, like I said, the goal is not church planting, starting a new thing, but to come alongside other churches to help as they're declining or getting discouraged, and to help them, kind of encourage them and help them to see that they can do things as well.
And the Christians in Japan, I was always impressed. You know, we worked there at Tsuchiyoda, and I never seen this. I don't know if this is universally true in Japan. I know it's not true in this country. But whenever I would get up to preach or somebody else would get up to preach, we had tables, or later even we had desks, and everybody got out their notebooks and took notes. I think just reflective of the seriousness that people take their faith and their learning. The Japanese are open to, you know, they're wanting an in-depth guidance in Bible study, and that in that sense, to step into a structure or a group that's already there, there's this great hunger and thirst then for the word.
Yeah. I'm sure that everybody's different, but yeah, there is this hunger and thirst amongst some of the Japanese that want to study more. Yeah. I mean, Japan has their own Bible, several translations of their Bible that they can buy easily. And more, you know, with digital social media, there's more and more, you know, YouTube videos of Bible studies and things that are more, people can get more easily now than they used to. But yeah, it's still a country where not a lot of material and things available to study. So I think people are hungering for it and open to it.
Yeah, I was always impressed, you know, that the level of education just among the ministers there.
Yeah.
Most of them have graduate degrees, I think.
I think so,
Uh,
yeah. And a lot of them have gone to the States to do the graduate work. Still highly valued here. So I don't think you have to have a graduate degree to come to Japan as a missionary, but it doesn't hurt either. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah, no, no, in no way. So the contact is for the Macedonia Project,
yeah, Japan.
Japan at gmail.com.
Right. Yep. That's the
And
email.
tell them the website too.
Yeah, the same website's the same. MacedonianProjectJapan.com is the web page. And there's, I think, a form on the web page that you can, it's a contact form you can fill out and with your contact information, and I'll write back with an email, and we can Zoom together after that and talk more about expectations and what the person is wanting or looking for, and then, like we talked about, the training course, take the training course. And Paul's been very generous in providing his time to go through that with the different students. But
We provide the platform through Plowshares Bible Institute. And so Macedonia Project is we count that as one of our projects. And
Fine.
so we feel privileged and honored that we're included.
No, but we're still, like I said, it just started 2019, and then COVID hit, so we haven't, we had few years of couldn't do anything, so it's still kind of in the beginning process, and we still have some kinks to work out, and we haven't had anyone come back full time yet, so we're still kind of in the beginning stages, but we're just wanting people to come and see what's going on and see the need here, and then hopefully to come back in the near future. I mean, I guess a thing I should say is that Japan's not an easy place to be a missionary as far as results. And some people think that, if we'd have hundreds of baptisms a year, but yet Japan hasn't been like that. And if you have a few baptisms, it's a good year in Japan. So it's not an easy place for missions. It is a wealthy country. It is a peaceful country, and sometimes they don't feel a whole lot a need for the gospel, a need for a savior, and they do have their Buddhist and traditional background as well. It's difficult for them to leave. So just different things that make it difficult. But there is a great need here, and we would love to have more missionaries come and more help with the churches in Japan.
Absolutely. But I also like Walter's introduction, why missionaries in Japan? And of course, the impetus is, as he put it, I thought he did that quite brilliantly, that actually God is a missionary God. God himself, then, in creation and redemption, is moving outside of who he is. And we're created in God's image, that the impetus, I think we all feel this impetus when we become Christians, that we need to tell other people. That is a natural outworking of the gospel in our lives. That's because of who God is. And I think that part of this, certainly there is the need in Japan, but there is also then that I think just fulfilling this missionary task that is the task of every Christian is really a completing of our own faith journey. That we're all called to go, and guess who we meet on the road? We meet Jesus. We meet Jesus in Japan. We meet Jesus among the people. So it is in no way a one-way sort of thing, but I think that that's the way we're transformed into the image that we were created.
Yeah. Ecclesiastes, that God put eternity in the hearts of man, and I think that probably includes that we have this heart to share about God and to go, and yeah.
My story in Japan is that I came to a fullness of the gospel, and my own understanding was transformed by being there. And I think that's always that we're called to go. Not necessarily everybody's called to go to one particular place, but everybody's called to go. And unless we go, I don't think that we're going to fully comprehend, appreciate, live out then the fullness of the gospel.
All right. Yeah.
You
So
want to
we're
disagree with me?
no, I don't know. That's true.
I just waiting, Tim, for you to say no. Well, one time in my life, I like,
Oh no.
All right. Well, anything else, Tim, that we need to say?
No, yeah, we're open and willing to talk and we pray that many will want to come and that the churches will be, encouraged and I don't know if I want to I don't know if we have this kind of feeling in America, but in Japan, I mean, I like baseball, so the Japanese baseball teams always try to recruit a few foreign players to play for their teams. I think that they used to have a limit of two or three, limit the foreign players, but they always had these foreign players come to help the team and to encourage the team to do better. And these guys are pretty good, so it's kind of that idea that we're not recruiting like professional preachers and someone who will take the lead, but we want young people to come and just come alongside the Japanese churches and to help them and be the encouragement and kind of a spark that they may have lost here. So it's not, yeah, it's just come and help
And it's maybe like with Yaku, Japanese baseball.
uh-huh.
If you come and you think you're going to play American baseball in Japan,
Right.
you may be a little shocked that actually the game is a very different game.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
used to, that was when I had a religion class or a class on Japan. One of the sections I did was on baseball.
Oh,
And it's a very neat introduction into Japanese culture because yeah, it's an American game, but in Japan, the whole notion of the sport is very different.
yeah,
And I think the same thing is true. Yeah, we'll put you on the team, but you're going to have to learn the Japanese cultural understanding. You're going to have an appreciation for where you're at and the place you're
yeah,
at.
for sure, for sure. Tom Selleck had a movie called Mr. Baseball about, I don't know, 30 years ago. I don't know how long it was, but I mean, growing up here in Japan, it was interesting to see that movie and how, as an American, he had to adjust to Japanese style of baseball and the group, stretching, and Japan's still a group society in most things. So it's yeah, going with the group and doing what others people do. And he had a hard time in the movie. Had a hard time adjusting to Japanese baseball, but I enjoyed that movie. But yeah, it's true. But yeah, Japan's still a group society, and yeah, they don't like someone coming in thinking they know it all and starting a lot of new things, but yet they're willing to work and so yeah,
Wasn't it the coach? They just one of their most successful coaches was an American coach. They had the winning a season. I'm telling the story I only know vaguely, and they immediately fired him.
yeah, was it Bobby Valentine? I forget who it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they didn't like Bobby.
yeah. If the Americans are about to beat one of the Japanese records, they give them a hard time and they won't pitch to a home run, leader because they don't want that home run that American to beat the Japanese home run leader. So it's yeah, it's a little strange for us as Americans who value it independent, but it's just a different type of ball game and
There are things more important than, I don't know if that's true. There's more important things than winning, I guess.
yeah, but I mean they value doing it together. Let's work on together. Let's be a team
And you
I
got to
mean
gambaru. You got to hang in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Those who've been able to adjust to that here in Japan have been able to stay a long time, and whether it be baseball or missions or whatever, if you willing to adjust and work with the Japanese, and I think you're more successful than trying to do everything yourself and do something great.
Tim, it's been a delight as always talking to you.
Yeah, I know we enjoyed our times together when we had them here in Japan. But
Yeah.
Forging Plowshares is a community dedicated to cultivating the peaceful kingdom by providing in-depth, transformative biblical and theological education and discipleship. If you have found this podcast valuable, please remember to share on social media. If you have questions about what you've heard, or if you'd like to learn more about how you can get involved with Forging Plowshares or even support this ministry financially, please visit our website, forgingplowshares.org.